Okay, guys, it's the next day, and I am currently about to watch the rest. Now, I might skip to the wrong part. If I do, I will refilm this whole thing and just basically yeah. Remember, this is all evidence against real Goku, and what he is doing is very serious. Now, alright.
It's just wrong, which isn't really the case here. God, yeah, like, because it's just out there on the internet. They were saying it to their friend, though. Yeah, like everybody else does, and you don't chastise them either. Like, I think you just, okay, I'm gonna be completely honest. I think you just have a, like, warped perception of morality to some extent because, one, because you're younger and you're just kind of following what you've been taught, and what you've been taught is the law, but the law is not 100% morality. It's a guide. It generally tries to follow morality, but there are some places not only where it fails to because it's just wrong, which isn't really the case here, but also because it can't for practicality's sake. Like, again, you don't magically become super mature once you turn 18, and there's like a huge difference between a civic is because it's a larger percentage of your life.
Alright. This is the one thing we found out. This is not a glitch. This is real Goku editing. Horribly, by the way.
So you don't magically become super mature once you turn 18, and there's like convenience and practicality. And I think once you get older, you're gonna realize how stupid all of this was, and hopefully put it all behind you. I think you will
That's
eventually. It might
another
take
cut. See, that was another cut. With enough focus, and if you look in the right places, you can see the cuts.
a couple years at least, but
The fact that he's still
no,
not
I
showing his real
understand. You're
voice.
trying to be like, you want to be like a vigilante, because I mean, it seems cool. Right, and honestly, I understand where you're coming from, like in general, but you're doing like it's like literally classic boy who cried wolf. You're
This is all a lie, everyone. Now, when you're about to watch the next part, it is generally going to be. This is real Goku editing this all out, so he can look like the hero and so on and such forth. But in all reality, he's not really. He is editing out important information and context to understand the full situation.
the best thing for them to do. Usually it's not, because a lot of times that comes with the risk of pregnancy, which comes with parenthood, and 15 is definitely too young for that. But most people, they understand what they're getting into at that age, as long as it's with someone of the same age as them. But when they get older, if like the person in the relationship is older than them, then they have more maturity than them, and they are able to, it's like, yeah, there's a power imbalance in the relationship, and that causes an issue because they are the younger person is more naive, so the older person is able to like coerce them into stuff that they might otherwise not want to do. Um, but like, I mean, talk to someone who's professional at this, like talk to like an adolescent psychologist or like a sex therapist, and I'm sure that they will agree with me. Uh, this is pretty common sense and nuanced take, I think. It's what most people would believe. Um, once you, so I honestly, and I think this extends not just to a few years below 18, but also quite a few years above 18. I think the same rule applies. And that's because I don't, and this really bothers me. A lot of people don't really seem to understand this. Two things. Not only are 18-year-olds, like right at the cutoff of 18, that 18-year-olds aren't adults, but the cutoff between that age group, where the age group that the age of 18 lies within, isn't between 17 and 18. It's roughly between 16 to 20. I'd say closer to 17 to 19. That sort of age range is way closer. Is like that's the development. So it makes more sense for the adulthood cutoff if you want it to be around that age group, either to be before then, so at 16 or 17, or after then, so like 19 or 20. But that's still not fully developed. A full adult human being, you don't fully develop into an adult until you're around 25 to 27. Both physically and mentally. Like your prefrontal cortex isn't fully developed until you are like 25 to 27 years old. Um, that's why like the age of drinking and smoking, for example, is 21. I personally think it should be older, but I think the same logic extends to older than 18. That the same way that it's, you know, if you're 16, that it might be okay to like have some level of sexual relations with another 16-year-old. It's definitely not okay if they're like 18 or 19 or way older than that. Even that's even worse. I think the same thing applies, and the age gap that's acceptable gets larger the older you get. But I think that same logic applies up until around 25 to 27. So if you're 18, for example, or 19, like my age, I think it'd be pretty fucking gross if a like 40-year-old, for example, was interested in me because I'm not fully an adult yet by like biological and psychological means. I am not until like my mid to late 20s. So if a 40-year-old was interested in me, or like a 50-year-old, for example, 50-year-old, that's like my parents' age, that would be pretty disgusting because they are way older than me, they have way more life experience, and they have a fully developed brain and body, and so they could take advantage of me. So I think that's weird too. And I think people are so stuck on the fact that the legal age of majority is 18. So that's also where the legal age of consent comes in. But I do appreciate at the very least that they have the Romeo and Juliet laws, because it is a little bit stupid to say like a 17 to 18-year-old can't have sex, like, but so two 18-year-olds can. Like, it, it's pretty stupid. Like, I do understand why those laws are in place. And generally, they are up to like 2 or 3 years, I think. So usually it's like ages 17 to 19, actually, which would be or sometimes a little bit older, depends on where you live. Um, and this is like talking like actually like having sex, not making a sex joke to a friend in passing. Or if this even did happen, which again I don't think it did, but for your argument, I'll say it did. Pretending to kiss a friend on a virtual reality game as a joke, if that happened, again, 17 and 19 really isn't that big of a difference. It's that 2 year age gap is way bigger as you get younger and way smaller as you get older, because it's the percentage of your lifetime, you know? Like, for me, someone who's a year older than me, if they're 20, we have a lot in common. But if I was like a little kid, if I was 5-year-old and a 6-year-old might not have a lot in common. Because that's like huge difference. It's like, you know, when you're in elementary school, the grade above you feels like way older than you, and then the time you get to an adult, you're like, oh, a year older than me is nothing. We're like exactly the same age pretty much. That's how it feels. So, and it's because it's a smaller percentage of your life when you get older. So I really don't think there's anything wrong with them. I honestly don't even think I should be having to justify it. Most people with common sense would never even think this is an issue. But I don't know. I mean, I guess that's what I have to say. Is there's more nuance. There's way more nuance in the law. I guess the one other thing is that the age of majority also didn't even used to be 18. It used to be 21, and I think that might still be where the drinking age came in. Was the age of majority was 21. It was lowered down to 18, I believe, so that more people could vote, if I remember correctly, because the age of majority determines a lot of things: sexual consent, medical consent. Um, it doesn't have to explicitly, but it usually does determine sexual consent, medical consent, ability to vote, and ability to can buy or consume certain like recreational drugs. Um, like nicotine, marijuana, alcohol. Um, those ages have increased though, and I do appreciate that. I wish they were a little older, but I don't know. I guess that's what I have to say. But I don't know. But if you
That was another cut. That was a whole nother cut. Real Goku is still cutting these things and showing that he is lying. And like I'm about to say, Real Goku is basically just showing all this just to try and make himself look good.
have any intellectually honest feedback, I'd love to hear it. Oh, what is that? What is? Um, what is weird and disgusting? I thought everything I said was fairly normal.
It
It
is.
definitely it was definitely a more like in-depth conversation. Mhm. But, okay, so I don't think you listened to anything that I said. Um, okay, do you think it's okay for an 18-year-old to engage in sexual activities? Like just in general? Do you think that's okay? Kind of? Okay. Is there a reason it's a kind of instead of a yes or a no? Well, what would that be reason be? I'm just asking why you said kind of instead of yes or no. Okay, interesting take. I haven't heard that before. But is there a reason you believe that? Is it because of, similar with like recreational drugs? Um, well, not really. Like I told you, if you were to look up research on it, psychologically and biologically, you're not fully matured until about 25 to 27 years old.
Yes, and there is one thing I should probably mention about this, but I'll mention it at the end.
Yeah, I just mean, I don't know. If anything, you're, um, you seem to lack an understanding of the sort of manufactured dichotomy that exists between minors and legal adults or those over the age of majority, uh, because it exists for the sake of practicality and isn't entirely based on, well, isn't at all based on biology or psychology. And developmentally, 17 to 19-year-olds are in the same age group, like the same development group. And I really don't think it's unreasonable for 17 to 19-year-olds to be friends with one another and to make jokes like that with each other because they're in the same developmental group. So Hmm? Uh, okay.
Okay, so that's where that video ends. Now there is more to this. There's more to this real Goku stuff, okay? So, at the end of the video, he said kinda. Now, real Goku has used the fake excuse that the age of consent is 18 in his country. It is not. The age of consent is not 18 in not in all countries, but most of them are in 16. Especially most of the states, I believe, in America are 16. If real Goku did his research on that, which he didn't, he would know most of the states and countries have the age of 16. 16 for both alcohol, um, and sex. As far as I know, those are the only two. For example, in the UK, with your parents' permission, you're allowed to basically have alcohol and consume it, but only in your own home and with your parents' permission. So, yeah. Okay. So, real Goku is simply lying about all this. He is not understanding anything. And the fact that he keeps his voice cut out is simply just fake. He is just lying.